Howdy folks, my name is Effing Controller, and I would like to welcome you to a very special Let's Play of Pacific Theater of Operations 2. And I say that it's special in the sense that, first of all, I managed to resist the urge to make a really corny 60 minutes joke while the clock was ticking during the intro there, but it's also special because it's going to involve you guys. By which I mean this is going to be a succession Let's Play where you will command me. You can think of me, perhaps, as your eager and willing Rear Admiral. Your participation in this game is, first of all, not mandatory. Second of all, it is not dependent on you knowing anything at all about this game. But I will explain more about how that system works. Think of this video as kind of an introduction and a primer, perhaps. But also, I should explain what this game is. Shockingly enough, P.T.O 2 is the sequel to P.T.O 1, and both of which were strategy games made by Koei, and they put you in command of the Pacific Fleet of either Japan or the Allies. And between the two games, there's really no reason to play P.T.O 1 if you have the option of playing P.T.O 2. P.T.O 2 is essentially just better in every way. P.T.O 1 had a pretty obtuse interface. The music in P.T.O 1 is best described as an extremely catchy nightmare. P.T.O 2 just generally simulates more of the war, has a bigger map, more detail. Just generally speaking, it's prettier. There's really only one area, I think, where P.T.O 2 might have a slight liability, but when we get to that, I will show you that it is easily surmounted now with modern technology. As you can see here, we have some familiar faces going past us right now. Kind of a nice trip down memory lane. I think we saw that one cruiser with lobstermen, and I think we've seen at least one ship that we've sunk personally. But I'm going to go ahead and get started here, rather than reveling in times past. Alright, here we go. Let's start a new game. Let's get rocking here. Okay, so we have a list of different scenarios and campaigns. The scenarios are in white, and then the campaigns are in yellow. Scenarios are basically, they're of shorter duration. They have some specific goals that you have to achieve in a very specific and limited amount of time. And then we have the campaigns. They put you at different starting points in the war, but your mission basically is to just win the war. And you have quite a bit of time to do that in. We'll get into what it means to win the war, I guess, later. But I've decided for this playthrough that I'm going to be playing The Brink of War, and that we will be playing as the Japanese. There's a lot of good reasons for that. I think it's mostly just going to give us some interesting decisions to make. And, you know, the odds are against us anyways, so I won't feel too bad if we lose, which is honestly the likely outcome, given the structure of this Let's Play. So, let's load her up and read the intro. The Brink of War. In 1932, Japan seized Manchuria and established a new puppet regime called Manchukuo. Following their blueprint for the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, Japan sought complete control over Eastern Asia. They waged the China Incident and advanced into French Indonesian, I think Indochina is what they mean, French Indochina territories. The expansionist policies adopted by Japan brought them into direct conflict with the U.S., who immediately responded with both economic and military action by creating an oil embargo and moving command of the Pacific Fleet to Hawaii. Negotiations for peaceful settlement were open, but by November 1941. Wow, this is tough. It's scrolling fast. I should read. They had deadlocked, and the U.S. had delivered an ultimatum with its hull notes. Japan was prepared to make a final and fatal decision. That's right up my alley. All of my decisions are fatal. Alright, so we get to pick which side. We're going to play Japan, as I mentioned. There's different difficulty levels here. Let's go to advanced, because it's not actually going to make it more difficult. It shows you all the different little things that you can tweak here, as far as who gets more of an advantage, I guess. I'm going to keep everything at average, but I just wanted to show that to you, I guess. No real reason. Alright. And then this lets us pick the different display options. I think everything's pretty much copacetic here. Alright, let's get started. Yamamoto is going to address us. Today, the task force led by Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo. I think I nailed it. Cast off and headed for Pearl Harbor. Other fleets at port will soon set sail for their respective missions. This mission must succeed in order for us to gain advantage in the war. Fate of our empire lies in this battle. I want everyone to be prepared. We are really not prepared. Okay, so here we go. Another reason, by the way, why I picked the Japanese is that they've got some pretty cool music. Awesome. Alright. So, we're in the main screen of the game. I could go into exhaustive detail about what all of these different options are, but, you know, and I think that would just cause you to panic, so just hold my hand, it's going to be okay. Rather than tutorializing everything, I think I'm just going to start playing and explain things as I go. And how I'm going to be playing is based on the instructions of our first admiral in charge, I guess, our first chief of operations. So how it's going to work, though, I should probably talk about the structure of this Let's Play a little bit before I get too ahead of myself. If you want to participate, just leave a comment in the video to that effect, and I will add your name to a list. And from that list, I will randomly select one person to be in command of our fleets for a period of 1 month in the game. So this person will send me a set of orders for the month, which can be as thorough or as general as he or she wishes. And it's important to bear in mind that you can only send me the one set of orders, so they should be kind of strategic in nature. I won't stop midway through the month to ask for new orders, especially, you know, for example, if I achieve a goal, I'm not going to just say, okay, I'm done with that, and then email you back and say, what do I do now? I'm just going to keep going with whatever. I'm also probably not even going to request clarification or anything like that. I'm just going to interpret everything. So, but bear in mind, your orders don't need to be particularly detailed or even particularly good. The only thing, I guess, that I really ask is that you try to give me orders that make some sort of sense within the confines of the game, and also just, you know, make them so that they won't end the Let's Play immediately. So, for instance, quit the game is not a good order. So with all that said, as I mentioned, I have one person leading us off today, and his name is Doug Kirby. And Doug has been a major supporter of the channel for a while now, and he made a very generous donation during the charity stream I did back in October. And in our various correspondences, he mentioned that he had played P.T.O. 1, so he was a natural choice, I think, to lead off this first round. So let's talk about Doug's ideas, his big plan for Japan. He gave me a very, very, very thorough set of orders, which is awesome, especially because this is the beginning of the game, and there's a lot to do. The first couple of turns are very, very hectic, but especially because Doug has some big ideas. He has a very interesting strategy in mind, and I say interesting rather than, you know how that can be kind of patronizing. It's genuinely an interesting idea that he's got. So rather than attempt a attack at Pearl Harbor, which is where my little red cursor is here. By the way, I'm playing this on a Super Nintendo, so, well, not on it. Well, this is a Super Nintendo game. I'll just leave it at that. And I'm controlling this with my my little controller here, my little effing controller. And rather than attack, I don't know why I felt obliged to mention that. Rather than attack Hawaii here, Doug wants us to concentrate our forces more on the Dutch East Indies, which are over here, and also on Malaya, or Malaysia, depending on how you prefer it to be said, I guess. So that is a good strategy, but it's something that is going to have a slight wrinkle in it. It should be noted that the game forces us to declare war on the US before we can attack any other allied nation, so we will have to still fight the Americans. It's not like we can just declare war on the British and the Dutch and go from there. So, as far as how we're going to be kind of dealing with the Americans, he's basically got me... Well, let me show you where our fleets are. This displays the position of all of our fleets. They're numbered, and so sometimes the numbers can kind of run together and get confusing, but fleets 3, 4, and 5 are the Kido Butai. They are the strike force that was intended to attack Pearl Harbor. What he wants me to do is kind of consolidate them a little bit, kind of, well, at least reorganize them, and use them as kind of... How do I describe it? He called it a, what was the term that he used? A fast attack force. A fast, I don't know, it's like the fucking police, basically. So, what he wants me to do is reorganize these guys so that in case the Americans encroach on us, we can respond and overwhelm them with air power, because between these three fleets, we have about 6 carriers. and it's unlikely that the Americans will be able to pool together enough carrier power to come anywhere close to meeting that threat. So that's the principle behind his method, I think. He has not given me any orders to attack American possessions like the Philippines. Let me show you on the map again, with the help of my cursor. The Philippines, Wake, I think, is over somewhere here. Wake is right there, and then also, what else would be a good example of Guam, I guess, is over here. So we're not attacking those. That's not a part of his plan, although we are supposed to respond defensively to any American attacks, it sounds like. That's kind of how I'm interpreting his very thorough set of orders. So the downside of his plan, even though I think it's a really good one, is that it will require some significant... Well, let's not end the phase yet. There's different phases to the game. We'll get to that. It will require a pretty thorough reorganization of everything. So that's going to be a little bit tricky, especially because we do have a possible issue with time. Now, you might remember historically that the U.S. entered the war on December 7th. However, we have the option of changing that. We'll get to that. That's something that is a little bit further down the road and is kind of a fun little thing. But we'll like I say, we'll get to that. So another part of his plan is to redistribute our submarines. Yes, this game has submarines. No, they're not as exciting as you're probably hoping they are. He has some specific ideas for what we should do with these guys, though. Right now you can see they're pretty heavily concentrated off the coast of the Philippines there, and also kind of swarming around Hawaii. He doesn't really want that. He wants basically just one sub to be left in the area of Hawaii, and then have everybody else kind of fan out and look at different areas for the Americans, basically, to figure out where they might end up. So we have a lot of busy work ahead of us, I guess. I'm going to off-screen a good portion of that, but I will give some kind of basic orders here, just so that you kind of know how the game works, and just so you know what I'm up to, I guess. So first of all, I'm going to start by ordering the P.T.O Butai to break off their mission. 3, 4, and 5 here are all being told basically to go and patrol the area north of Pearl Harbor. That's their order right now. If you look at them, like this is the 5th Fleet, it has a list of all the different ships that are in it. It shows where their destination is, what their mission is, all that good stuff. I don't know what the points thing means. I have no idea, but I don't think it's that important. So Admiral Mikawa here has 2 battleships, 2 cruisers, and a destroyer in his task force here. I'm going to give him an order, though. Here we go. Alright, so I'm going to tell him... Wait for it. I'm going to tell him to go resupply at Tokyo. Because, again, our efforts are mostly being concentrated to the south of us. So I'm going to be reorganizing these fleets pretty significantly. So now he's got a new mission. He's going to be heading down south. Could talk a little bit about what these different orders mean. To do that, actually. Move is pretty self-explanatory. Supply tells the fleet to supply somewhere. Engage, I believe, tells the fleet to go to a given port and beat the shit out of anything that stands in their way. Strike, I think, is to launch an airstrike on a target. Shell is to shell land target of some kind. Land is to land troops. Patrol is to patrol the area around a given spot. Attack is to go into an area and attack whatever you see. And anti-sub is to engage in ASW warfare in an area. We don't like this very much, do we? Let's go to supply, though. This entire fleet has to be sent to Tokyo. I'm sending them to Tokyo rather than to Sapporo, because it's on the way, basically, to where we need to go. And we need to massively reorganize this this strike force here. It all needs to be changed. We're removing Tito Santana from strike force. I don't know why I picked Tito Santana. Rick Martel, just as much a member of strike force. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Why am I saying anything? I think this music, I know that this is risky, but I think that this music is better than Strike Force's intro music in the WWF. Again, no one has any idea what's happening. Alright, so I've issued orders to all of those fleets, I think. There's some other info on here that I might share. You can see that there's Trans 1 and Trans 2. Each fleet has the ability to have some transports with them. They can carry oil, or they can carry Marines. I haven't talked about our Marines yet. We have many of them. We have 16 divisions of Marines that are all red hot and ready to... I don't know if they're really red hot. That might be overstating things. They're very very angry, ready to invade some places and stuff. We can load them onto our transports and land them. It's important to note that if you capture a base using Marines, you have more control over that base. If you capture a base using infantry, led by the Army, you have less control because of the political divisions in Japan. The Army and the Navy didn't cooperate so well, so that's replicated in the game. It's kind of a cool and annoying thing at the same time. Alright, so I've given orders to 3 of our fleets. We have a lot of work to do yet, though. Fleet number 2, I have to do some more finicky stuff. Fleet number 2 is at the home port of Kure here. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly at all. He says he's ready to go, Admiral Takasu. You can see that some of our fleets have admirals in command of them. You want to have admirals in command of every single one of your fleets. Some of the fleets that we have do not have admirals in command, so we're going to be fixing that. I will be doing that off screen because it's fairly tedious. What I'm going to do here, though... Actually, I can't do it from this screen. I'm going to assign one of our ships that's in reserve to the second fleet here. The assign option here lets us put ships that are in reserve into a fleet. And the Yugumo is going to be added to the second fleet. Now, this fleet is all full. Fleets are capped off at 8. You can see, though, that we have a pretty fearsome-looking fleet here. We have 4 battleships. These are 2 light carriers, a cruiser, and then a destroyer. A little bit top-heavy, to be honest with you. You don't want to have fleets that are exclusively battleships unless it's pretty late in the game, because they're very vulnerable to subs and to destroyers. Destroyers can actually shoot torpedoes, so they're a little bit of a threat. Now let's see. Let's give the second fleet some orders here. You can see now that we do have a destroyer in it. Now I can... Actually, because I assigned a ship to this fleet, I can't do anything else with it for this day. So I'm going to leave it alone for now. I'm also... Oh, you know what? I can do one more thing possibly with this. This is the first fleet. It has just 2 battleships in it. It's basically where Yamamoto hangs out. Likes to sleep on the boat, I guess. I'm going to try to add some ships. Oh wait, I can't do that. I can't do that at all. Never mind. I was thinking that I could reorganize one of the battleships into that fleet, but it's full, so I can't do that yet, but that's okay. Well, we're going to have to wait for some stuff with the second fleet, because I have some other plans for it, but can't do it because it added a ship. So it is out of moves, basically, for the turn, I guess. Let's go back to the map. And you can see when we look at this, the 2 is grayed out, so it can't do anything more this turn. Alright, so the 6th fleet. This is one of the fleets that would be used to attack probably Singapore, I guess? I have no idea. But what I'm going to have this fleet do is I'm going to have it sail to Saigon. Because I need to do some reorganization. Because again, Doug has some big plans. Alright, there we go. I guess actually all of these fleets, I'm going to be telling them to resupply in Saigon. So I'll do that real quick, and then I'm going to give some submarine orders here in a minute. So I'm going to off-screen the fleet ordering stuff, and then I'll get back with you once I'm ready to boss the submarines around. Okay, so our fleets have all been given commands. You can see that the 10th through the 15th, and actually I think you can see my mouse cursor here. The 10th through the 15th fleets have been given commands, so they are grayed out. They have resupplied in port, so they can't do anything more this turn. But let's move on to the subs. I know how you people like your submarines. Now, I already gave this one orders. because I thought I was recording when I wasn't. But this I-1 here has been ordered to patrol in the area of... Let me show you where this is. There's actually... Let me also show you the different types of commands you can give your subs. Port just means make a port call at a given port. That would be a friendly port so that you could resupply. Sabotage is to attack an enemy port. Patrol is to look around in an area and try to find the enemy. And attack is to attack forces in a given location. I'm going to send this sub to patrol in the area of Atu, which is up here. And I was kind of unsure about whether or not I should send it to Atu or to Dutch Harbor. Both are miserable, but I decided on Atu because it's easier for me to resupply these guys. I would have to send them back to Sapporo to resupply, so let's also take a look at... well, actually, let me emphasize what Doug wants me to do. He only wants me to leave one sub in the area of Pearl, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave the I-16 here, right by Pearl Harbor. And I don't know how long it'll take to get back to a friendly port, but, oh well. Hopefully these guys don't run out of fuel. That would be pretty embarrassing. Alright. So I'm going to go through and issue orders to all of my subs. But like I say, Doug wants me to kind of fan out. So I'm going to send... Let me just get the second one here. Let's send these guys throughout the Pacific. So the I-4 is going to go... I think I'm just going to have him go to Midway. Why not? Midway is right here. Then there's Palmyra here. I don't think I'm going to bother with that. I am going to check out... what, Marshall? Is that ours? Actually, Marshall is ours. I'm going to probably put some off of the coast of Guam. Where else? Definitely off of the Philippines. I think having those subs in the Gulf of Tonkin and in the South China Sea, that's a good plan. But this particular sub is going to go to Midway. It's kind of strange. The Americans, the AI in this game, let me talk about that really quick, is very unpredictable. They will launch attacks in very unusual locations, and in fact it's so unpredictable that the Americans might actually declare war on us before we declare war on them, but that's gonna... We'll have to see how that situation develops. That will happen much later. Keep hitting that button on accident. So I'm going to give my subs commands now, and I will get back with you guys once I do that. Okay, I think that we're good to go here. I guess looking at these nonsensical numbers doesn't really help you very much, but what I'm going to do is... actually, which cursor am I going to use? Ooh, cursor war. I'm going to use the mouse cursor because it's just a little bit easier. I have one sub that's going to hang out by Hawaii. I have another that's going to hang out by Atu up here, which is hidden by the P, I think. And then I have them kind of covering the Philippines. I have a couple at Wake and I think one at Midway. I think that that's how it is. Pretty sure. This is going to go really well. I also have one that I sent back to Saigon here, because it has a kind of longer duration mission that I don't want it to be just hanging out and then using supplies, and then the war starts and then it has to resupply and then it's off station. So that's my idea there. I'm going to hold off on that for a little bit. I don't think that the information that it would be gathering at this point in the position that I have in mind for it will be of any use at this juncture, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. With all that said, I think that we're ready to end the turn here. So I'm going to do that. And you do that by doing this. Now this is the area where I was saying that P.T.O 2 kind of has a little bit of a glitch, a little deficiency. It takes forever to process turns, and this is not even at the start of the, or not, we're at the start of the war, so things aren't really hopping yet. But turns do truly take a long time later on to process. It can be a little bit tedious. But with that said, I think that they do some amazing work with this game, considering the fact that it is a frickin' Super Nintendo that's processing all this. So let's take a look. You can see that things have slightly changed, but most notably with the Kido Butai. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th fleets have moved noticeably, and they're heading towards Tokyo. So you also may notice that the Wargarble fleet in the South China Sea is even more Wargarbly. It looks like an astronaut with a tiny foot. I don't know. Anybody seeing that? I don't know what that is. Anyways, they're heading south to Saigon. So you may notice that we're in a new phase. The date hasn't changed. What happens is the move phase, you issue orders to your fleets, and they move after you conclude that phase. Now you're in the plan phase. In that period of time between the move phase and the plan phase, the computer will also process any locations of any fleets. So if you happen to locate a fleet, then you will get a message that pops up. And then you will be able to see them on this enemy screen, which of course is blank right now because the war is not started yet. So we can't really do anything in the plan phase right now that's of any interest. We could possibly resupply if we forgot to do so in the previous turn, but there's really no reason to do that. So we're actually going to go ahead and end the turn here, and then we're going to move on to what would be the battle phase. Wait for it. But there is no battle phase because we're not at war. How fitting. So we have pretty much everything in place here. It's now the 27th. So I really don't have much that I need to do. Our fleets just need to get where they're going. So I'm going to actually end the move phase again. And again, this is why a lot of this is going to be done off screen, because especially in the early part, once I've given the initial set of orders, there's not much to do. So what I was saying though about how this is kind of slow, oh my goodness, what happened there? I don't know. I have no idea what happened there. Just magic. So it looks like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th are getting close. Our other fleets are getting there too. Oh, I have orders to give to the 12th fleet, don't I? I do. I forgot to move them. Oh wait, no, the 12th is fine. Disregard, disregard. 10th and 11th are on their way from Taipei. I think everything's fine. Pretty sure I got this. What's the 14th fleet doing? Did it just arrive at Saipan? It did, and it is resupplying. Okay, so that's why it's like that. Second fleet, I think I'm actually gonna, that's what I was gonna do, is I was gonna have the second fleet start moving out at the beginning of this day, this fine day of December, or November, whatever the fuck, November the 27th. I'm going to have it actually go down to Saigon as well. Actually, no. Am I? No, it needs to go to Tokyo. Because I need to, distribute one of its, I think I need to distribute one of its battleships. That's right. Oh, wait. Okay, so that's good. There we are. Okay. So, of course, since I forgot to issue that order during the move phase, that fleet will not move. It will move today, now, the 29th. Right? Is it the 29th or 28th? I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh, and there's another thing that I need to do, but I'll do that off screen as well. I need to assign admirals. Let's take a look at this. So we have this big list of admirals. We have Yamamoto, we have Toyota, very dependable and reliable, a very popular kind of commander. Then we have Koga and all these other folks. Now, you can see here that they have these numbers off to the right. Assigning an admiral to a fleet greatly improves their overall quality. So we want to assign as many of these guys as possible, and in fact, when I go back to this display, you'll see that many of them are unassigned. Some of our fleets do not have commanders in place, so I will go ahead and assign some. Let's figure out who to assign. These guys, I think, aren't assigned because they're considered, like, members of the staff, or whatever, I don't know. Staff members? They're just hanging out in the staff lounge? I don't know what I mean by that, but let's put Toyota in command of a fleet. There's no sense in not using him. Again, the game probably has him just sitting at Kure for reasons that are based in history, but there's, again, we should be using these folks. So I'm going to have him in command of the 7th Fleet, Koga, who was actually briefly in command of the Japanese Navy is going to take over the 10th Fleet. And then I'm going to reassign these other folks as I see fit. Now, they can be assigned, as you might have noticed, to base air forces, which is kind of amusing, but even more amusing is assigning them to submarines. They can also be assigned to Marines, which is usually not a good idea, but I'm going to assign somebody to the I-69. I say again, the I-69. Awesome. Sukahara I-69. Okay. Ito is going to be in command of... Let's see, I think we have some other fleets. I'm going to do this off screen, actually, but you get the idea. We get to assign commanders and so on and so forth. I'm actually going to put everybody possible on wherever I can put them. I want to put them on air bases, Marines even, possibly. That's usually not a good idea because it might get them killed, but you gotta make an omelet, you gotta break some eggs. Alright, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'll get back with you guys.